just note our agenda item is now on the matter of surge planting, the surge planting initiative for winter 2022, and to like to call upon Duncan Covell and together with Lizette Wilson to make the presentations, and we'll call for mover and seconder of the resolutions at the end of that. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Moana tātou. Hope everyone had a good morning tea. I certainly went for a walk. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to present item 6.3, which is the surge planting initiative for this winter 2022. This paper consists of 7 recommendations and notes to the Joint Committee, and the main purpose of this paper is to seek Joint Committee support for the surge planting initiative this winter. Given the number of headwinds that we have, and that was described in the earlier papers and this morning, we're asking for a slight deviation and support and a slight deviation from the existing plan, where we have a full sediment reduction plan, and then we hand out the money for the planting and the fencing after that. Through this paper, we are recommending that we bring forward the planting component of this sediment reduction plan, but honour the existing recommendations and criteria that we complete the full SRP within a 6-month period of commencement, and that's with under recommendation number 5. All in all, we're proposing this paper so we can meet our KPIs. We have a planned season coming up very, very soon, starting in May, and we need to get on so we can engage the landowners, where we think there's a lot of potential planting ready to roll, engage the contractors, engage the accredited nurseries, and gain trust and confidence in the field advisors with the landowners. So I'll take the paper as read, but I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to what is a really large planting plan, and hopefully give us the confidence to move forward with your confidence. Thank you, Chair.
Greg was first.
I think we may have lost Tammy.
You there, Tammy?
Sorry about that. Kia ora, Greg.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Duncan. Very good paper. Very impressed with it. Obviously, you know, it's a large investment going into the program, and the survival of the trees is what I'm interested in. Any comment around? Obviously, it ends up being the responsibility of the landowner, right? So, what or how do we monitor survival rates?
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. Thank you for your question, Councillor. Nothing's changed with respect to the methodology of ensuring survival. Getting them in the ground in a timely sense in the deepest, darkest part of winter is key. So that's why we're really promoting this fast planting this winter. So if we can get them in June, July, they're in the ground at the right time, at the right spacing, with the right preparation. We won't honour projects to go this winter unless the weed control is sorted. So we're promoting sites that are plant ready or have a weed burden that is controllable enough to get ahead of it for this winter. And then after that, we will check the planting after 2 weeks of notified by the landowner. So that gives us an opportunity to check the quality of the planting, which is key. And if it's not up to scratch, we get the contractors back in. And then we check it again after 6 months to determine the establishment and rates, any issues, recommendations to the landowner. So, and we get a pre-spray, and we'll have a spray in between planting and the 6-month visit. So hopefully the trees are in the ground at the right time. They're of the great quality that our accredited nurses are going to provide us, and the spraying's done and we're checked up.
All right, thank you, Duncan. Through you, Mr. Chair, will that all come back in a report to us, Duncan? I assume it would. I just want to clarify that.
So in recommendation number 6, we'll give you a sort of a pipeline update in May, just to let you know what's going on. But we will give you frequent updates on how the planting's getting on, the number of trees in the ground, the amount of money we've spent, and the engagement of contractors, because that's going to be the make or break of this. And we've already started discussions around, there's a squad in Tororoa based that put 174,000 trees in the ground last winter. So it's about building, we've already started building contacts with them to see if they can help us with that job.
And if I may, Duncan, just one last question through you, Chair. If the contractor has to come back and you do the order and they have to come back, is that at their cost or is that an additional cost out of our funds?
It will be their cost based on the contract that they have with the landowner. If the job's not good enough, they need to go back in as normal contracts require. It's a QA process.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Duncan.
Thank you.
Kia ora, Greg. Tēnā koe, Virginia.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Duncan, there's in talking to farmer or two, there's confusion with they've got a FEP, you know, farm environmental plan, but they're also thinking they have to have a sediment reduction plan. And I see that isn't the case in this paper. So there's confusion out there. So what is the difference? If they've already got a farm environmental plan, and it says that you can have one or the other, what is the sediment reduction plan that's different to the farm environmental plan? But it's, you know, so that I can inform that they don't need to have both.
Okay. They might have a farm environment plan either by Auckland Council, Northern Regional Council or Fonterra, or completed by an agricultural consultant professional. That is a more generalised plan for their whole farm property and sets priorities, but it's not specific to the job. And that's where the SRP falls. The SRP is a specific work plan for that specific part of the whenua that they are receiving money for. So it won't provide a whole overview of the farm environment plan. The SRP won't provide a whole overview of the whole farm plan system like a farm environment plan does, but it's more project specific. It's a specific planting plan for that small area of works that's going to be commenced this winter. So there's a bit of a deviation there.
So because the paper says that they can have one or the other, they don't like. I can say to them that they don't have to have the SRP, or
it's only where they have a farm environment plan from Fonterra as part of the part of the partnership with KMR.
Right.
I think that's a very critical point in terms of non-dairy platforms or properties that are not subscribers of Fonterra. Sheep and beef, dairy beef, grazing blocks, horticultural blocks, conservation reservations and public land and so on. Dare I say it, council land included. To have this clarity of understanding that the farm environmental plans have quite rigid, connections and links to the arrangement that's in place with the property and Fonterra. I think we ought to keep an eye out on what that looks like for sheep and beef. I understand there's accords of that sort of nature, Duncan. You might be able to help us with even forestry blocks on what is supposed to happen in terms of the commercial forestry. So this idea of focusing on the aspects of a surge in planting is, I think, the right way to approach it in terms of a project by project approach, as opposed to a blanket sort of a cover that this option trumps those obligatory arrangements that are tied to, much higher and a different set of criteria. Because this is not a sort of alternative, if you like. certainly not, but it is an option on those properties that are perhaps outside the constraints of Fonterra and the requirements of sources of their products off their land blocks.
Yeah, irrespective of land use, the SRP then becomes the contract for which the landowner has a relationship with KMR on a financial and standard base.
One more question. Sorry, Tommy, just one more question, and that's on page 35, Duncan. And this is to do with, the field advisors are working on the SRP. So you got your full, SRP, you're going to deliver all this, and now it says, delivery of the estimated number of planting plans is, and the Motokuta would secure an independent expert to review the quality of planting plans. Is this not another step? Like, would this, if this independent review, I'm just thinking about being a farmer, right? You've done your plans and everything, and now you're going to have another independent reviewer come in. Would this not hold up the process? Is this not another bureaucratic layer to the farmer? I mean,
I'll just try and clarify. This is an internal process, so the farmer won't see this process. This process is because of our lack of capability and capacity within the field advisors. So this creates the consistent link. So the field advisor will go out, talk to the farmer, and zone up the planting area. Then it goes to the independent contractor who will phone up all the nurseries, find out where the plants are held, and coordinate this planting specifications, which then goes to the farmer. So the farmer won't see this step. This step is to enable fast establishment of these planting plans in a consistent manner, which would have ever held us back through inexperienced field advisors. So basically we're adding a layer of experience so that the process flows really smoothly and consistently.
So, it's not going to hold it up though for that poor farmer kind of thing.
No. I think it'll provide a lot more clarity for the farmer because they get a consistent approach. So if they spoke to their neighbour, the planting plan would be exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Kia ora, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Kia ora. Any further questions for Duncan or Lizette?
On page, kia ora through the chair, just on page 35, I think it is again. Duncan, you've got a series of bicultural settings, etc. Just going down your bullet points, that you see obvious benefits of accelerating, the sewage planting initiative. Would accelerate, strengthened relationships with managers of multiple Māori-owned land. Could you just talk me through your thinking on where you're coming on from there? Because you've got several references to uri mana whenua to help with the sewage planting teams.
I think this was through the chair. Thank you for your question, Jane. This is really just to demonstrate that we are tackling all types of land use and all sorts of different work streams. We know there's a great demand out there for doing more planting, so it gives us this opportunity to really push forward, find out the bigger land holdings, find out who's who in the zoo with respect to responsibility of that, demonstrate that we provide a really good service, demonstrate that we have the advice and are bang up to speed on what's best practice. We're willing to work and hoping to work with everyone who's interested in planting trees. Like I said, there's a big crew up in Te Roroa country that are really keen to go. There's the green team down at Kaiwaka that are really keen to go. So really it's just a real, where we're surging the planting, but we're also surging the relationships at the same time. We're giving confidence that the work streams are good, they're clever, and we're getting trees in the ground. And ultimately, we'll be held to account if we don't get the trees in the ground. So really, I think the bullet points was just demonstrating that we're wanting to work with everybody and create opportunities at all levels.
Oh, right. So through the whenua whānui, with proposals that are there, because they're multiple owned land, but they're the actual the actual whānau who have the rights to that land for the next 35 years. So so you'll be working with them.
Yep, we can either work through them through the Whenua Whānui Fund, or if they've got a good project and have the ability to get, they are the approved landowners, then we're happy to work with them through the surge plans and get them going, and give them confidence that what their projects includes is a good project, and we'll make a start on it this winter. Right. I mean, that's where I'm getting to. So in relation to Matuku Whānau Nursery, that has their their certificates and things like that you've just mentioned, so they would just have to work with you on the planting of their whenua, because they've on their piece of on that particular block, they have to deal with the impacts from the forestry, sure, as well as upland neighbours, and what they're wanting to do as well. Sure. So they'll effectively go through the landowner grant scheme, and we'll help them out this winter if they're ready to roll. Yep, that's right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Kia ora. Thank you.
Kia ora, Jane. Any further questions? Did you want to add anything to what Duncan's mentioned, Lizzie?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, we'll take our resolutions in two parts. First step to receive.
Rather than just a question, just a comment. I hope that the central government who's listening on this call is taking a lot of confidence away from what we're doing here. I think it's very positive. I'm very happy to vote in support of this paper. Duncan, I do have a question in terms of, and it might be directed to you or our Chief Executive, around your replacement. I take a lot of heart from what you've said, but if you're not in that role going forward, what's the contingency in terms of your placement, and that we can, I guess, have the same, or I can have the same degree of confidence in the outcomes and the recommendations coming forward?
I don't think I'm really at liberty to answer that, and my headset is stretching rather. I just want to demonstrate that the whole team is fully committed to this. There's huge capability within the team, and this balance of contractor and in-house Mauri Kura is working very well. So I do believe the team is very much up to speed, and I'll let Justine talk further if needs be.
Okay, Justine, thank you.
Through the chair, kia ora, Councillor Sayers. Look, first of all, thank you for those kind words. And I know that Duncan is a very humble person, so I think I can absolutely hear you and endorse what you were saying about Duncan's expertise. It is one of the reasons why we have extended his contract through to 30 June to help in various ways in the planting side. We also, as Duncan has mentioned, and there may be work beyond that. We're working through the work program ourselves for the next year through the annual plan process. We do also have another Darren Van Beek, who you have, I think, met. Has got deep nursery expertise, and we are discussing as well some other what I call expertise support. So NZ Arm, who works very closely with Duncan at the minute and the team around the field advisor training, which is a key bottleneck or critical point there for the program in terms of delivery. We are having a kororo next week to understand how both we, the Mautikura staff, can work with NZ Arm, and how NZ Arm could potentially be an accredited supplier to us around that deeper, what I call Duncan expertise, particularly in the soil and sediment space. So that is something I'm very mindful of around capability. I think this in-house Mautikura model, supplemented by contractor/consultancy expertise, is going to be something that we are going to need to rely on this year, financial year, and potentially well into next financial year, this calendar year, because of the need to make sure that we can ramp up the KMR program as anticipated, is desirable. And I just want to say how pleased I've been through Duncan and Azette and their leadership around making the surge planting initiative pragmatic, as well as maintaining quality standards. So this is something that I think is the hallmark now of the wider Maurikura team. So thank you for those observations.
And thank you for your reply. And you know, the success of this program rests on all our shoulders. So we'll definitely, you know, want this to happen in a smooth and positive way. And there are, you know, we're dealing with a, you know, around not the fencing but the planting around live, you know, organisms. So it's a thing that we just have to guide through with care and compassion, which I feel for you too. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Tammy.
Kia ora. Just a comment on the paper. Very good, clear in my mind. But the anticipated flurry of reaction to what would appear to be some slippage, that we're falling behind agreed timelines and so on, means we lose the notion that the remediation, to be effective, has to deliberately or clearly start at the headwaters. The sedimentation's not going to run from the middle of the harbour back to the headwaters. So I guess in anticipating that is some mechanism to build in there the emphasis that our discussion took place around the catchment reference groups and how critical it is that these links and connections are made with that in mind. And I think there's a challenge that, you know, there are challenges that lay ahead for us to ensure that as we operate at our respective entity ends, that's encouraged as well. And some of the innovative ways that this could be brought about is to ensure that there is a connection between the plethora of environmental, jobs for nature, or 1 billion trees or whatever programs that are out there, that they are connected. I mean, it's you know, quite clear that there isn't the sort of cohesion that one would expect if you were to look at the Kaihu Valley Trail, Kaipara District Council, the state of the stop banks on the Kaihu River. We didn't have that information as part of KMR, but it's obvious that the research that's gone in to ensure that corridor has, you know, all of the technical reporting required, that or those aspects actually align with what KMR is trying to do. And I guess the option there also is to view this from the headwaters down the river systems into the Moana. And at some point, I think this surge planting idea is one that would probably deviate yet again once we get an indication of where we should be heading in years 4 through to 6. But that's you know, otherwise I think it's a step in the right direction, and really want to compliment one and all who've pulled these ideas together. Well done.
Very good summary too, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Kia ora. If there are no more comments, can I ask for 2 sets of movers and seconders in the first resolution with this item? Have a mover, please, to receive the paper. Moved by Penny Smart. Have a seconder.
Happy to second, Mr. Chair. That's Councillor Sayers.
Councillor Sayers seconded. All those in favour for the receipt of the agenda item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
those against, any objections? That's carried. And can we have a mover and a seconder for items? Oh, good God. For the rest of the resolutions.
2 to 7.
That's it, 2 to 7. They have a mover, Virginia Warrener, and a seconder,
Happy to second, Amy.
Amy McDonald as seconder. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Good.
Any objections? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much, Duncan, Lizette.
Kia ora tātou. Thank you.
Kia
Kia
ora.
ora.
And moving to agenda item 6.4, the Poutātaki report. Tēnā koe. E Justine.
Just unmuting. Kia ora, everyone. Look, just a couple of comments. I'll take the paper as read, but it might just be worth covering off 2 or 3 quick things. First of all, this report provides an up-to-date view as of the 15th of February. And so some of you sharp-eyed Joint Committee member readers might notice that some of the numbers are a little bit different from a 6-monthly report, which, as John Hutton mentioned, goes through to the end of December. So that's one of the reasons why the content is more up to date in my report. And it really captures the 2 months of Maurikura activity since we last met in formal hui in this type of meeting. My second comment is really how humbled I am with the team. Just really want to recognise the Maurikura here, because as you'll see from this perhaps slightly more detailed than normal view, we have done an incredible amount over the 2 months. And there are 2 reasons for that. One, you'll see that we had a real push on before Christmas in terms of getting things across the line, things finalised and out the door for our accredited partners to get on with their work. Very important for KMR's ability to ramp up. And that's because the summer slowdown, would really affect our ability to then progress the program. And we were very conscious at that point of the very issues that Duncan and Lizette and others have talked about in respect of maximising this winter's planting program. So I just want to recognise some Maurikura. You will also see in this report a very significant focus on in-person training, introduction, engagement in person, kanohi ki te kanohi. And that's really because we are very aware that very shortly with the Omicron impacts that will no longer be possible. And even if we want to engage, others are starting to get very hesitant about coming together in person. And so you will see we've accelerated a bunch of things that we can do in workshop in hui to try and engage the new Maurikura team. Now, I'll acknowledge that some of those engagements happened, I'd say, faster than we would normally want them to do. They're not perfect engagements, and we appreciate and acknowledge that. But we felt it was super important, given where the program was at, and given what we'd heard from yourselves, the Joint Committee, before Christmas, that we got on and did the job, perhaps seeking a little bit of forgiveness rather than permission, and working on finished and good enough rather than perfect. So thank you for acknowledging and recognising that too. A couple of points to also signal here is that I fully expect us to be working from home shortly as the Omicron risk ramps up. So next report may well be less fulsome. And in fact, as many of you will know, the next report will ideally regularly include financial views. That's something that yourselves have asked for, in my hearing at least, twice already. We are working on that with the providers of that financial information to present that in what I call a meaningful way for this group and for ourselves. And I'd also like to, in our next report, move to what I call RAG reporting. So a red, amber or green traffic light on how these major areas of work are developing. So I just wanted to put that on the table, because what you'll see today is by no means a final product, and I welcome your feedback on what would work for you as this reporting evolves. Kia ora.
Thank you, Justine. Invite any comments or questions.
Kia ora, through the chair. It's a really good report. Thank you, Justine. And understandably, as you had indicated, the engagement with those that have already put things forward, it is understandable that things took a life of their own. So good that there is going to be through William some contact. Kia ora.
Kia ora, James.
Kia ora, Penny.
Kia ora, Tame, thank you. Thanks, Justine. Great report. Just a comment. Yeah, I agree with Jane as well. Done is better than perfect. Sometimes it's just the reality at the moment. Just got a quick question on page 41, I think it is, under workforce development. You've mentioned something about exploring a potential opportunity relating to Three Waters. Just wanted a bit more information on that.
Thank you, Penny. Yes, I'm happy to provide some thinking there. This has actually come out of the Auckland region, out of our Auckland Council secondee, Sarah Nolan. I think many of you know her from her work on the Hōtio. Sarah's working with, will work with all of us, but at the minute I think she's engaging with Willie and also the Auckland Council counterpart to explore whether some of the early thinking about, I guess, local Uri teams, so to speak, can also support work that's funded third-party wise through the Three Waters investments. Now that would be very similar. The proposal is something similar to Auckland Council's current program called Two in a Ute. I'm not sure how many know about the Two in a Ute program, but it allows for an employment opportunity for those in the job seeker program or flexi worker program through Ministry of Social Development to go out with supervision and with adequate Q&A to be in a ute with some working teams to tune up at site, usually in remote and rural areas. And perhaps in this case, it would be to work on stormwater, and I think there's also a proposal for marae-based water reticulation. So this is why we've started the conversation with Willie and the Auckland Council counterpart first to check in on the, I'd say, the cultural appropriateness of the proposal before we come out more formally, including with our MSD partners. But that's perhaps we can come back to you with more information, Penny, once we have some more information on whether the orientation is right or not.
Oh, interesting. Thank you, Justine.
No problem.
Kia ora, Tame.
Kia ora, Penny. No further questions? Kia ora, Virginia.
Just one quick one through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Justine. Awesome work with the team. I'm just interested in on the last page under strategy and opportunities about the third-party international investments, especially in the seed banking facilities. Just a little bit more on that.
Certainly, through the chair, Virginia, no problems. I am bound by confidentiality, so I may not speak with pronouns here, but we are exploring, I'll take it back a step. You may recall before Christmas, we signed a Kaipara Uri Nurseries contract, which is the idea of developing, with consultation and still at early stages, the idea of developing satellite nurseries across the catchment. And that is something that Te Reo Settlement Trust will be engaging with South Zone if they're not already engaging. At this point, the contract is quite exploratory around seed banking and seed databasing, and having a view, I guess, with Y262 Crown Response potentially coming around, if you like, both supporting the uri and other nurseries for eco-sourced seeds, but also exploring what I call ongoing commercial and or revenue generating opportunities. And so through my own personal connections, we had an approach to potentially respond to an international call for philanthropic investment. This is that third party. They're based in Hawaii, so some of you will have some sense of whom I'm talking about here. That call has available, if I recall correctly, up to $5 million US available for global investment, philanthropic investment in seed banking, infrastructure, and IP for training and development around establishing seed banking in areas of high biodiversity potential. And this has all come from the UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, whereby a consortia of international groups, mainly conservation and philanthropy groups, committed to achieve a mission of 1 billion trees planted globally. So they're looking for partners to invest in essentially assistance to established seed banks. Now we're exploring now with that party due diligence, and we have had legal advice just over the weekend. We are also looking to understand how the initiative would work here in New Zealand as opposed to generically somewhere overseas. And we are looking to understand what so the good news is the IP always rests with the landowner. There is no intent to own anything through this investment. I'll raise it now, it's important we all understand this. One of the potential issues we need to understand from the Hawaiians is a current suggestion that they need drone overflight footage. Now we know that that can be sensitive in a New Zealand context, and I have both a meeting with the international folk, but also a check back in with the lawyers and the uri partner to discuss that next week. So I'd be very happy to brief you more fulsomely about whether or not this is a real potential opportunity, or whether there's likely to be too many things getting in the way for us to take that up. But the point here is it's free money in to support landowners doing the right thing and uri nursery partners doing the right thing.
Okay, as I was just wondering about, our taonga species, all right, and the IP around protecting those rights around specific plants, Jane, Cherie, all right, so that's my concern, that's all. So yes, please, if we could be kept in up, update on that, that would be great. Thanks, Justine.
Good, Virginia.
Amen.
Good, Virginia.
Good, thank you for that, Virginia.
Any further comments? I want to make a comment on the Three Waters reforms, and the critical part of this is one of those, well, two of those actually, wastewater and stormwater, and it's in the context of discharges into the river systems and eventually finding its way into the Moana, and then of course the major component of that is stormwater. Not to say reticulation of drinking water is lesser importance, but there has been a technical work group. I mean, one of the roles I've had since 2012 is chairing an operational forum of kaitiaki working along the lines of a relationship agreement with Watercare inside the Auckland Council area. Well, that's about to expand to go from the Bombays to the Cape, basically. And with that, I think is one of these options and opportunities to perhaps get in alignment with what is coming in terms of that entity and what that means for Kaipara Moana remediation. If you take it, and my involvement is not at a governance level, it's been purely operational, project level, like they're building that New Zealand's largest ever underground tunnel to hold human waste underneath Auckland, the Central Interceptor. And the fascination with that project is that it's being delivered by a consortia. One part of the consortium is a family from Italy. The sixth generation of that family will start on that job. And they've teamed up with an Australian-owned entity called Abergaldi, owned by a guy called Russell Harker. But within that project, there's a whole scope of activities that look at remediation. And the interest with Watercare is that since they've been in existence, they've embarked on this track of, infrastructural remediation, just the damage that was caused by a lack of investment in infrastructure. So with that comes the alignment, I believe, in where Kaipara Moana remediation is heading and what this could mean for the likes of the smaller rural townships that have either septic tanks or a sort of marginal wastewater treatment setup. And there are a number of those. We haven't got to the illegal landfills yet, but there you have the sort of spread of what this all means. And I just wanted to raise this, Justine, in terms of the significance of the reform program over the Kaipara Moana remediation. And I'll conclude by making this point. One of the ministerial supporters for this program was the Minister for Local Government. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to accompany us on both of those boat trips. And so it may be an option and an opportunity to discuss with our funding partners, the Ministry for the Environment, on just how and when we should be leading out in these discussions. I'll declare now, I don't think it'll be worth our effort as a Uri Council Partnership Group to be in a queue or in a scrum when the roadshow comes to town led by the Department of Internal Affairs, and we queue up with our sort of submissions and bits of paper around the future of the management of these three waters out into the future. I think the purpose of this is a little bit like the discussion we had around surge planting. This has got to maintain its momentum. We haven't got time to be scratching around, bringing people up to speed, especially those that have received the information and haven't bothered to read it or comprehend it. And I know a couple of those individuals in some fairly significant places of decision making, but they'll remain nameless while we're having these discussions. And I guess at some point, Justine, in working through the operational aspects or the mauri kura aspects, is there a point where we perhaps need to converge our thinking and our ideas? And this is not, pointing fingers at our council partners at all. It's maintaining the lanes and keeping the alignment in the right direction. We mustn't use the exit ramp for an entry point. That's my take on it all. So if there are no more questions, can we have someone move?
Comment, Tammy?
Kia ora, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your words there, Tammy, and I endorse them. I'm going to have to leave the meeting shortly, Mr. Chair, so I just want to record that I need to leave in probably about 5 minutes. But can I just, I've kind of alluded to this earlier today, and I just want to send a message to Justine that the momentum is very good. I'm just concerned about survival rates of those trees and our plantings. You referred back to the surge planting, Mr. Chair. That's why I raised it, because we have had examples in Auckland Council in this last 3-year term where a lot of planting has been done and the trees aren't there anymore. You know? So the investment gone and they didn't get water during the drought. You know? And that was within control of an Auckland Council budget. When this control goes to individual landowners, they may not, they may not have the same effort into keeping the trees alive. So for me, from the Auckland Council's point of view, and I don't know if Councillor Newman wants to comment, but it's these things getting in the ground, but also surviving beyond the 6 month, the 2 week and the 6 month audit that we got alluded to by Duncan earlier, but they're there forever. So that's just very important to me, Mr. Chair. And I want to let Justine know my sentiments there on behalf of Auckland Council, Justine. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Through the Chair, kia ora, Councillor says we've heard you. We'll go away and think about that as well, but it is our intent as well to make sure that happens. Kia ora.
Thank you.
Through the Chair, I'd just like to raise, will we be hearing on the Mātauranga Māori strategy today?
I haven't. I'm meeting Fiona at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, we might have missed the point. It was raised earlier. Fiona's been in touch. She wants to have a discussion to try and get the points lined up around what that looks like. Sure. And I think I might even suggest that we have another Zoom, try and find time in our busy schedules and invite to joint committee members, whoever's available, to join that. I'll have a discussion with Fiona and let everyone know via email, and of course William is there to keep an eye on our on lining this up. I think she was quite keen to try and pick up on some of the work that was started with the Taitokoro Water Trust. They've built a couple of water storage facilities, one in Aratapu behind Oture Marae, and another one further north up in Kaikohe, around the Ngāwhai area. And there's some fairly robust settings there around incorporating Ngā kōrero te wā kāinga into how those projects went off the ground. And there was not one tino rangatiratanga flag at any of those meetings. Anyway, but that's as far as the Mātauranga Māori kaupapa goes.
Kōrero tuku iho.
Kōrero tuku iho. And can we get a mover and seconder for the Poutātaki report?
Right.
Move Jane, the seconder Penny Smart. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Any abstentions? Kia ora. Well, that's the conclusion of our listed agenda items. Are there any other matters that require discussion? Happy to say that it's 5 minutes past 12, Justine, and we have set yet another record.
Kia ora, Tame, and thank you for your exceptional cheering, which landed us bang on time. That's unheard of. Kia ora, and well done, everyone. Thank you for your support today. I know it's been a stretch with 2 meetings and 5 working days, but I appreciate all the support as we move at pace and the excellent feedback, which we're capturing in the chat as well. So thank you very much, Tame.
Kia ora. Ilka, do you have any comments? Do you have any?
Kia ora. Congratulations to 2 meetings being very quietly observed by me, just finding my feet. I don't congratulations on getting here and getting this far and loading. I think what, in my mind, while I'm pedaling to keep up with what's happening in the Kaipara Moana Remediation project, which is pretty ambitious. I just say congratulations and thank you so much for the warm welcome I receive. I feel well and truly very much part of it, and my role here is just a tiny one on making it all work. So kia ora.
Kia ora, Ilka. And well, tātou mā, on that note, want to wish you all the best. Stay safe, stay positive. Those that have already clocked out are included in this as well. And we look forward to the next iteration on where we've got to, and keep an keep an ear or an eye out for a bit of an update on ngā kōrero tuku iho, the Mātauranga Māori draft information. And with that, close our hui with a benediction. Kia tauno kia tātou katoa, te apapai o tō tātou ari ki ai hukrei, te pipi ngā tahi ki te wairua tapu, mo ake